The ultimatum, the conference room floated in the void between stars, a neutral meeting ground where diplomacy still held fragile power. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the human podium, her hands resting calmly on the transparent surface. Across from her, Commander Thrax of the Vrexian Confederation loomed, his 6 arms gesturing with theatrical contempt. The Vrexian was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with scaled skin that shimmered like oil on water. His species had conquered 40 star systems in the past 2 centuries. Today, he believed he would add humanity's colonies to that list. "Your time is over, human," Thrax announced, his voice amplified through the station's translation matrix. "The Vrexian Confederation claims the Outer Rim territories. Your colonies are built on worlds that fall within our sphere of expansion. You will evacuate within 72 standard hours." Around the circular chamber, representatives from dozens of species watched in uncomfortable silence. The room held ambassadors from the peaceful Talarian Unity, the merchant guilds of Proxima, and even observers from the ancient Krell Dominion. None of them moved to intervene. This was the way of galactic politics. The strong expanded, the weak surrendered, or died. Dr. Chen waited for the murmurs to fade. She was a small woman by human standards, barely reaching 160 centimeters. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical bun. Her suit was simple, gray, unadorned with military decorations or political symbols. She looked unremarkable compared to the elaborate armor and ceremonial robes worn by other delegates. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but clear. "Commander Thrax, humanity has invested 120 years building those colonies. 15 million people call those worlds home. Children were born there. We have farms, cities, research facilities, and families. You cannot simply demand we abandon them." Thrax laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Cannot? I see no fleet protecting these colonies. Intelligence reports indicate you possess perhaps 200 defense vessels spread across 8 systems. We bring 800 warships. The mathematics is simple, even for a primitive species like yours." One of his arms swept toward a holographic display. It showed the Vrexian fleet in formation, a massive armada of warships bristling with weapons. Each vessel was larger than anything humanity had publicly deployed. Their weapons could crack continents. Their shields could withstand nuclear bombardment. "You have 72 hours, Thrax repeated. "After that, anyone remaining in those systems will be considered hostile. We will cleanse the worlds for proper Vrexian settlement. I am being generous. My military advisors suggested we simply attack without warning." Ambassador Crix of the Talarian Unity raised one delicate hand. The Talarians were an old species, wise and cautious. They had seen empires rise and fall across millennia. "Perhaps a compromise could be reached," Crix suggested gently. "The Council could mediate a territorial agreement that respects both parties." "There is nothing to mediate," Thrax snapped. "Humanity is weak. They have been in space for barely 2 centuries. They have no allies, no significant military, no political leverage. This is not negotiation. This is notification." Dr. Chen remained still. Her expression showed neither fear nor anger. She simply listened, taking in every word, every gesture, every detail of Thrax's confidence. Finally, she nodded slowly. "I see. Then let me be equally clear, Commander. Humanity rejects your demands. Those colonies will not be abandoned. Those families will not be displaced. Those worlds are ours, and they will remain ours." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Several delegates turned to stare at the human ambassador. Was she insane? Did she not understand the military reality? The Vrexian Confederation would annihilate any resistance. Thrax's eyes narrowed. "You dare to refuse? Do you not comprehend what you face? Our fleet will arrive in your systems within 10 standard days. When we do, your pitiful defense forces will be swept aside like insects. Your colonies will burn. Your people will die. All because of your foolish pride." "It is not pride, Commander," Dr. Chen replied. "It is principle. Humanity will defend what is ours. If you choose to attack, you will face the consequences." "Consequences?" Thrax threw back his head and laughed again. "What consequences can you possibly threaten? Your entire military could not challenge a single Vrexian battle group. You have no weapons that can penetrate our shields. You have no tactics that can counter our superiority. You are nothing." Dr. Chen picked up her data tablet and prepared to leave. We're done here. Here, the Galactic Council has witnessed your intentions. When this is over, remember that we gave you every chance to choose peace. When this is over, Thrax said coldly, humanity will be a cautionary tale told to other weak species. A lesson about what happens to those who defy the Vrexian Confederation. Dr. Chen walked from the chamber without looking back. Her aide, a young diplomat named Marcus Liu, hurried to catch up with her. As the doors sealed behind them, Marcus spoke in an urgent whisper. Dr. Chen was that wise. You just guaranteed they will attack with full force. The Council will do nothing to help us. We are alone. Sarah Chen smiled for the first time. It was not a pleasant expression. Alone, Marcus, we have never been alone. We have simply been patient. Back on Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Wells stood in a command center that officially did not exist. The room was vast, filled with holographic displays showing star systems, fleet positions, and tactical data. Hundreds of officers worked at stations, coordinating activities across human space. A priority signal flashed on his main screen. Dr. Chen's face appeared, broadcasting through quantum encrypted channels that no alien species could intercept. General Wells, she said formally, Commander Thrax has issued his ultimatum as expected. He gives us 72 hours. His fleet will arrive in 10 days. He believes we are helpless. Wells was an older man, his hair silver, his face lined with decades of military service. He had fought in the last Earth war humanity reached the stars. He knew what humans were capable of when pushed to the edge. Perfect, Wells replied. Everything is proceeding according to plan. Are you ready to transmit the activation codes? I am. General, are you certain we have no choice? Once we activate Silent Shield, there is no going back. The galaxy will know what we have been hiding. For 120 years, humanity had been building, preparing, and waiting. They had sent diplomats to smile and trade. They had shared culture and technology. They had appeared peaceful, cooperative, and harmless. All of it had been calculated misdirection. Doctor? Chen, Wells said quietly, they threatened our children. They gave us an ultimatum to abandon our homes. They believe we are weak because we chose peace. It is time to remind the galaxy what humanity really is. Sarah Chen nodded. Transmitting activation codes now. Authorization, Sierra Whiskey 77 Delta. Project Silent Shield is active. The codes flashed across secure networks, racing at light speed toward every human colony, every station, every outpost in space. They reached mining operations on asteroids, research facilities on frozen moons, and trading posts on the edges of explored space. And they reached the places no alien intelligence service had ever discovered. The hidden shipyards in the Oort cloud. The weapons platforms disguised as derelict space debris. The military bases built inside hollowed-out asteroids. The enormous fleet that had been constructed in absolute secrecy over more than a century. Captain Elena Rodriguez received the activation code aboard the Indomitable. The ship had been listed in civilian registries as a deep space cargo hauler. Its hull appeared old and worn, covered in paint and patches. Alien observers who had seen it in port had dismissed it as typical human inefficiency. None of them had scanned deep enough to detect the military-grade fusion reactors hidden in its core. None of them had noticed the weapons systems concealed behind false hull plating. None of them had realized that every cargo hauler humanity operated was actually a warship waiting to be activated. Elena read the message twice, then turned to her crew. All hands, this is the captain. Activate combat configuration. Strip the civilian disguise. Power up all weapons systems. This is not a drill. Project Silent Shield is active. Throughout the ship, walls slid away to reveal missile batteries. Cargo bay doors opened to show fighter launch tubes. The old paint burned away as armor plating emerged, gleaming with military precision. Within 30 minutes, the decrepit cargo ship had transformed into a state-of-the-art destroyer. And across human space, 2,000 ships did exactly the same thing. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, enormous hangar doors opened. They had been sealed for decades, appearing to be abandoned mining tunnels. Inside, rows of warships sat ready, fully armed and fueled. Their crews had trained in secret, waiting for this day. Admiral Chen Zhao, commander of the Hidden Fleet, stood on the bridge of the battleship Olympus Mons. Around him, his officers worked with practiced efficiency. They had run simulations 10,000 times. They knew every tactic, every formation, every contingency. "Admiral, all ships report ready." His tactical officer announced, "We have 1,600 vessels in the hidden fleet, all systems operational. Crews at battle stations." Zhao looked at the tactical display. It showed the Vrexian fleet's projected course, their numbers, and their capabilities. Human intelligence had been watching the Vrexians for 50 years. Every ship they had built, every weapon they had deployed, every tactic they had used was cataloged and analyzed. Oh, the Vrexians thought they knew humanity. They had watched human merchants and diplomats. They had scanned human defense ships. They had concluded that humanity was weak and technologically inferior. They had never seen what humanity built in the shadows. "Send of all ships," Admiral Zhao commanded. "We moved to intercept positions in 8 days. Silent running until ordered otherwise. The Vrexians wanted war. We will give them exactly what they asked for." Back on Earth, General Wells reviewed the final reports. Every piece was in position. The hidden fleets were moving. The defensive platforms were armed. The colonies were preparing. Everything that could be done had been done. He opened a communication channel to all human military commanders. His message was brief. "For 120 years, we have prepared for this day. We hoped it would never come. We built our defenses in secret, not because we wanted war, but because we understood that others might force it upon us. Today, the day has arrived. The Vrexian Confederation threatens our families. They demand we surrender our homes. They believe we are weak because we chose peace." Wells paused, his voice hardening. "They are about to learn the truth. Humanity did not forget how to wage war. We simply chose not to. But when someone threatens our children, when they give us an ultimatum, when they mistake our mercy for weakness, they discover what we really are. Execute your orders, defend humanity, and show the galaxy what happens when you push humans too far." The countdown had begun. In 10 days, the Vrexian fleet would arrive at the Outer Rim colonies, expecting to find frightened civilians and minimal resistance. Instead, they would find humanity's true face, not the peaceful diplomats they had met in conference rooms, not the humble traders they had encountered at ports, but the species that had clawed its way up from Earth's brutal history, that had survived world wars and near extinction, that had learned to plan, to adapt, and to strike with devastating precision when survival demanded it. Commander Thrax had wanted to make an example of humanity. Yeah, soon he would realize his terrible mistake. Humanity was about to make an example of him instead. The galaxy was about to witness what happened when a peaceful species decided that enough was enough. The message would be clear and permanent. Never threaten human families. Never mistake diplomacy for weakness. And never, ever start a war with humanity unless you are prepared to face annihilation. The Reckoning Commander Thrax stood on the command deck of the Vrexian flagship Eternal Dominion, watching the star system scroll past on the tactical display. His fleet of 800 warships moved through space in perfect formation, an unstoppable force that had crushed every resistance it encountered. 10 days had passed since the ultimatum. The humans had not responded. Their colonies had not evacuated. Thrax smiled with grim satisfaction. They had chosen to resist. Good. It would make the lesson more memorable. "Commander, we are approaching the first human colony system," his navigation officer reported. "The world they call New Harmony. Population estimates suggest 3 million humans." Thrax studied the sensor readings. The planet appeared peaceful, with cities spread across 3 continents. Orbital stations handled trade and transportation, and protecting it all was a small human defense force, 12 ships according to their intelligence. "Pathetic," Thrax muttered. "They send 12 ships against our armada. Do they truly believe they can stop us?" His tactical officer highlighted the human vessels on the display. They were frigates and destroyers, small craft that would be obliterated within minutes of engagement. They had formed a defensive line between the Vrexian fleet and the planet, a futile gesture of defiance. "All ships attack formation," Thrax commanded. "Destroy the human defense force. Show no mercy. Once they are eliminated, we will broadcast our demands to the planet below. If they do not surrender immediately, we will begin orbital bombardment of their cities." The Vrexian fleet adjusted course, weapons charging, shields at maximum power. 800 warships accelerating toward 12 human vessels. The outcome was obvious. This would be over in minutes. Then the human ships did something unexpected. They turned and fled. "Commander, the human vessels are retreating at maximum speed," the tactical officer announced with surprise. "They are heading deeper into the system, toward the asteroid belt." Thrax laughed. "They run like frightened prey. Pursue them. I want every human ship destroyed. Let the colonists below watch their defenders die." The Vrexian fleet surged forward, chasing the fleeing human ships into the dense asteroid field. It was a maze of rocks, some small as houses, others large as moons. The human ships navigated through it with practiced ease, clearly familiar with the terrain. "I came here to destroy humans. Follow them." The Vrexian ships pushed into the asteroid field. Their sensors tracked the human vessels ahead, always just out of weapons range, always leading them deeper. For 30 minutes, the chase continued. Thrax grew frustrated. Why would the humans flee into a dead end? There was nowhere to go. Then his sensor officer spoke, his voice confused and alarmed. "Commander, I am detecting unusual energy readings throughout the asteroid field. Multiple sources, they are powering up all around us." Before Thrax could respond, the asteroids transformed. Ahead appeared to be natural rocks suddenly revealed their true nature. Massive hangar doors opened. Weapons platforms emerged from concealed positions, and from the largest asteroids, ships began to launch. Hundreds of them. "Ambush!" Thrax roared. "All ships, defensive formation. Return fire!" But the trap had already sprung. The Vrexian fleet found itself surrounded by hidden human forces. From every direction, warships appeared. These were not the small frigates they had been chasing. These were battleships, carriers, and destroyers, all bearing weapons that should not have existed. Captain Elena Rodriguez commanded the newly revealed destroyer squadron, designated Wolfpack 7. "But we are not defenseless. And when you threaten our children, when you give us ultimatums, when you mistake our kindness for weakness, you discover what humanity really is." The human fleet tightened its formation around the trapped Vrexian ships, weapons locked on. Targeting systems painted every enemy vessel, but no one fired. The demonstration was complete. "You have one chance, Commander Thrax. Order your fleet to stand down. Power down all weapons. Prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated according to galactic conventions. You will return to your space with a message for your government." Thrax looked around his bridge. His crew was terrified. Damage reports flooded in from every ship. Nearly 200 vessels were destroyed or disabled. The others were surrounded, outgunned, and trapped. His magnificent armada had been reduced to wreckage in less than an hour. "And if I refuse?" Thrax asked hoarsely. Admiral Zhao's expression did not change. "Then we proceed to Phase 3. We demonstrate the weapons we have not yet used. Would you like to see what happens when human creativity is fully applied to military technology without restraint?" Several strange ships moved into position around the Eternal Dominion. They were small, ungainly-looking craft that did not match standard warship designs. Test platforms, experimental vessels. "These ships carry weapons we developed but never deployed," Admiral Zhao explained. "Nanomachine swarms that can disassemble matter at the molecular level. Neural disruptors that can incapacitate entire crews without damaging ships. Quantum weapons that manipulate space-time itself. We built them because we could. We never used them because they seemed too cruel." He leaned forward slightly. "But you came here to annihilate us, Commander. You threatened millions of innocent people. So I am authorized to demonstrate every weapon in our arsenal. Shall we begin field testing?" Thrax felt something he had not experienced in decades. True fear. These humans were not the primitive, peaceful species he had studied. They were apex predators who had been hiding their fangs. Every friendly diplomat had been gathering intelligence. Every trade negotiation had been an opportunity to study potential enemies. Every act of peace had been a strategic choice, not a sign of weakness. The Vrexian Confederation had conquered 40 systems because their enemies had been unprepared. But humanity had spent over a century preparing for exactly this scenario. They had planned for war while pursuing peace. They had built weapons in secret while appearing harmless. They had shown the galaxy a mask while building an armada in the shadows. With shaking hands, Thrax reached for his communication controls. All Vrexian ships, his voice cracked slightly. Stand down, power down all weapons. We surrender. The words felt like poison. The mighty Vrexian Confederation reduced to humiliation by a species they had dismissed as inferior. But looking at the tactical display, at the overwhelming human forces, at the burning wrecks of his fleet, Thrax knew there was no other choice. Admiral Zhao nodded slowly. A wise decision, Commander. Your crews will be detained temporarily. Your ships will be secured. And you will carry a message back to your government. Tell them what happened here. Tell them what humanity is capable of when pushed. And tell them that if they ever threaten human lives again, next time we will not offer surrender. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched in stunned silence. The battle had been broadcast on emergency channels. Every species had seen the Vrexian fleet destroyed. Every government had witnessed humanity's true military capability. Ambassador Crix of the Talarian Unity spoke first, his voice filled with shock. They hid all this. For over a century, they presented themselves as peaceful newcomers. We thought we knew them. We thought they were weak. Dr. Saracen addressed the council via holographic transmission. She stood in the same conference room where Thrax had issued his ultimatum 10 days earlier. But now she spoke from a position of strength. Humanity has always been honest about our values, she said calmly. We prefer peace. We seek cooperation. We value life and oppose unnecessary violence. These things are true, but we also learn from our history. Our species nearly destroyed itself in wars before we reached the stars. We learned that peace must be backed by strength, that diplomacy only works when both sides respect each other, and that the best way to prevent war is to be prepared for it. She looked directly at the council members. We hoped we would never need our hidden defenses. We built them anyway. We hoped other species would respect our peaceful nature. We prepared for those who would not. Today, the Vrexian Confederation learned what happens when you threaten human families. We defended ourselves. We protected our people. And we did it without unnecessary slaughter. Most of the Vrexian crews will return home alive. But make no mistake, Dr. Chen continued, her voice hardening slightly. Any species that threatens humanity will face the same response. We choose peace. We prefer diplomacy, but we are not defenseless. Never again will humanity be at the mercy of those who mistake our kindness for weakness. The council chamber remained silent. Species that had pitied humanity now looked at them with cautious respect. The small, peaceful newcomers had revealed themselves as a sleeping giant that no one wanted to awaken. On Earth, General Wells watched the council broadcast with grim satisfaction. The message had been delivered. Humanity was no longer the weak newcomer to be ignored or exploited. They were a power to be respected. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Zhao. Admiral, excellent work. Begin processing the Vrexian prisoners according to protocol. Prepare their ships enough for them to return home. I want their government to understand we could have destroyed them but chose not to. Understood, General. What about our fleet? Do we maintain the public reveal? Wells considered the question. Yes, the secret is out now. Let the galaxy see our ships. Let them understand what humanity is capable of. But Admiral, make sure our people remember why we built all this. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to protect. To defend, to ensure that no one can ever threaten our families again. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the captured Vrexian ships being secured. Her crew worked with professional efficiency, treating the defeated enemy with respect, despite what they had intended to do. Captain, her first officer approached quietly. I have been thinking about what we accomplished today. We defeated a fleet 4 times our projected size. We protected our colonies. We sent a message to the galaxy. But I wonder if things will be the same now. Everyone knows about our hidden strength. Will they trust us anymore? Elena considered the question carefully. Trust is earned through actions, not words. Today we showed we can fight, but we also showed restraint. We disabled enemy ships instead of destroying them when we could have. We offered surrender instead of annihilation. We defended ourselves without becoming monsters. That matters. The galaxy will see that humans fight when necessary but do not glory in violence. That is who we are. That is who we will remain. Across human space, people watched the news broadcasts with mixed emotions. Pride in their military's capability, relief that their families were safe, but also soberness at what had been revealed. The peaceful image humanity had cultivated was gone. Now they were known as a species with devastating military power. Dr. Chen appeared on every major broadcast channel, addressing humanity directly. Today we defended ourselves. We revealed capabilities we hoped to never use. Some of you may worry about how this changes our place in the galaxy. I want to assure you that it does not change who we are. We are still the species that explores, that builds, that seeks friendship and cooperation. But we are also the species that protects its own. We do not start wars, we end them. We do not seek conflict, but we do not run from it when our families are threatened. She paused, choosing her words carefully. The galaxy has learned something important today. Humanity is not weak. We are not defenseless, but we are also not conquerors. We proved we can fight. Now we must prove we know when not to. Our strength must serve our values, not replace them. We remain who we have always been, a species that chooses peace but will not surrender to aggression. Commander Thrax sat in detention aboard a human facility, watching the broadcasts. He had been treated well, medical care for his injuries, adequate food and quarters. His crew reported similar treatment. The humans had defeated them completely, but had not inflicted unnecessary suffering. It made the humiliation worse somehow. If they had been cruel, he could have maintained his hatred. Instead, they demonstrated that their mercy was a choice, not a weakness. They could have annihilated his fleet. They chose not to. That choice showed more strength than any weapon. The human officer entered his cell. It was Admiral Zhao himself. The commander who had destroyed his armada now stood before him without guards or weapons. "Commander Thrax," Zhao said calmly, "in 3 days, you and your surviving crews will be released. Your ships will be repaired enough to return home. You will carry a message to your government." "What message?" Thrax asked bitterly. "That humanity seeks peace but will defend itself with overwhelming force if necessary. That we harbor no desire for revenge or conquest. But that if the Vrexian Confederation ever threatens human space again, we will not be so merciful. The next time, we will not disable your ships. We will destroy them." Zhao turned to leave, then paused. "Commander, your species has conquered 40 systems through force and intimidation. You believe that made you strong. But true strength is having the power to destroy your enemy and choosing not to. That is what separates civilization from barbarism. I hope your government learns that lesson. For all our sakes." The Vrexian fleet limped home 2 weeks later, carrying their message of defeat. The Vrexian government recalled all aggressive expansion plans. They had learned what humanity was capable of. More importantly, they had learned that humans fought differently than other species. They planned longer. They prepared more thoroughly, and they struck with precision when threatened. Other aggressive species across the galaxy took note. The small, peaceful humans had revealed themselves as something far more dangerous. A species that appeared weak but was actually the most prepared for war of any civilization in known space. A species that valued peace but would wage total war if forced. A species that everyone had underestimated. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The hidden fleets remain visible now, patrolling human space openly. Colonies expanded with new confidence. Trade continued. Diplomacy persisted. But everyone knew the truth now. Humanity had teeth. They simply chose not to show them unless necessary. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her office, looking at Earth through the window, the blue planet that had spawned humanity, that had survived their violent history, that had sent them to the stars seeking a better way. She thought about everything that had led to this moment. The centuries of preparation. The patience required to maintain the deception. The relief that it had worked. General Wells joined her, 2 veterans who had carried the burden of humanity's secret defense for decades. "We changed the galaxy today," Wells said quietly. "They will never see us the same way again." "No," Chen agreed, "but perhaps that is for the best. Peace built on genuine respect lasts longer than peace built on perceived weakness. We showed them we can fight. Now we must show them we know when not to. That is the harder lesson. That is what will define humanity's future among the stars." They stood together in silence, two architects of humanity's greatest deception and greatest defense. They had prepared for war while hoping for peace. They had built weapons while pursuing diplomacy. They had shown the galaxy exactly what they wanted to see while preparing for the worst. And when the moment came when Commander Thrax had demanded surrender, when the Vrexian Confederation had threatened millions of human lives, they had delivered a simple message that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. When humanity says, "You want war?" then face annihilation, they mean every word. But they also offer mercy to those wise enough to accept it. That was the true strength of humanity. Not the weapons they built, not the ships they hid, but the choice to use overwhelming force only when necessary and to show mercy even in absolute victory. That was what would make humanity not just powerful, but respected. Not just feared, but trusted. Not just survivors, but leaders in a galaxy that desperately needed to learn the difference between strength and cruelty. The countdown had ended. The trap had been sprung. The war had been won, and humanity's true journey among the stars had only just begun.